Hello. I'm gonna talk in a very deliberately slow tone in this video. I have no rush. It's gonna be a very long video. Actually, let me introduce it now. Today's video is going to be on an analysis of the current state of Mech in Korea right now. Recently, Byung just played Life in a very late macro game on King Sejong Station, and so there's finally a a professional game that has been broadcasted so that we can see that where the current state of Mech is in Korea, and it will reflect also what Korean Zergs do against Mech currently, and what kind of Mech there is on the Korean server as well. So, oops, wrong one. There we go. Yep, right screen. I'm trying to get used to hotkeys, so face, screen, face, screen. Let me just double check. Yeah, I'm getting so much better at self-producing stuff. So from watching this game, I can see that Mech is coming along. Obviously, it's coming along very well since Byung, spoiler alert, does win this game against Life. However, there are some pretty big mistakes that both players make on each side, and I don't think it's been fully understood yet. One of the biggest things, your game plan against a macro Mech player, like if you hit a Villo on ladder and you don't have a cheese to kill him with really fast because his macro is horrible, it's like diamond level, then you should be assuming that the game is going to be going on for a late game. Not even a late game scenario, a split map scenario in which both players mine out their resources and it all comes down to trading more cost efficiently. So what Life should be doing, his game plan should ultimately revolve around taking these 6 bases on his side of the map and then also trying to establish a base over here or over here, most likely over here, just to start taking away from Byung's split map position. The more minerals you can mine and gas from a base that's not on your side, the bigger the advantage that you're going to receive later on when both players are no longer mining, and it starts to become a fight for every single resource and every single geyser that's left. So you might as well get your fair share now before your base gets destroyed. One thing about this map, or one thing about Mech in maps, Mech is very dependent on the map, I believe. I think King Sejong Station and Overgrowth are 2 fantastic maps to do Mech on. They're, in my opinion, 100% viable because of how it's laid out. The most important thing is that you need a 4th base that is easy to take. In other words, it needs to be accessible to your slow-moving army, and that's what King Sejong Station provides. And on top of that, the 5th base is also in a pretty safe position. If your army is positioned over here, you can move it over here and kind of protect this area in the line like that. You're not necessarily always going to have a watchtower because of mutalisks, but if you also have the watchtower, then it also gives you safety on this side of the map and provides you an attack path towards this base as well. When Mech players also have this base, they can also branch out and attack this base right there. It's a very close distance, and if there are no swarm hosts or some sort of defense to slow the Mech player down, they can easily take out this middle base right here by the Zerg player and back up to a safe position, but only if the Zerg player is caught out of position. And thirdly, we have this little natural rocks over here. It's the trickiest, but you can usually keep it alive, the rocks alive, for the early part of the game until you have about 4 bases. You can usually keep it alive before the Zerg player starts to try to break it down, and when he does, then this area starts to become a point of defense. And later on, also, a point to take this base and to also deny it from the Zerg player, because the the right way to play against Mech, I'm not gonna say the best way, because currently the best way being shown in this game is not the right way. It's on the right track, but it's not the right way. It would be for the Zerg player to take this base and mine as much as possible and to deny it for as long as possible. I'm saying as long as possible with a purpose, because it's not realistic to think that you're going to keep that base for the entire game, but it is realistic to think that you are going to have a chance to mine both minerals and gas from it for a certain amount of time. And Mech really just becomes about stockpiling your resources and trading cost efficiently, or more cost efficiently than the Zerg player, because Ravens allow you to do that. And if you have a split map situation where both players have their side of the map, they're both on 6 bases, then the Mech player is almost always going to win. That's the goal that Byung should have ultimately, to get up to that position and to have a good enough army to defend or to trade cost efficiently, and then to starve Life out. Life, on the other hand, let's talk about him for a sec. What should his goal be? His goal should be to expand to his side of the map basically as fast as possible. It's all about a race to how many minerals you can gather before the base gets denied, because on King Sejong Station, this base and this base are both fairly easy as a Mech player to deny, as we'll see later in the game what Byung starts to do. This harass right here, it does a lot of damage. I know I'm just jumping into the game kinda randomly. The reason why it does a decent amount of damage is because the Banshee, like the 4 Hellions together wouldn't have killed 11 workers, but the Banshee combined was the reason why Byung was able to get so much. And he got so much because Life skipped the Spore Crawler in both his main and his natural base in favor of an Overseer and Queen defense to kind of save money and to save drones. Very smart decision by Life, but can also be abused by Hellion Banshee play. We see Byung's standard response is to make 5 turrets. I believe he makes 1 at his third, 1 over here, 2 in his natural, and 2 in his main. I think that's where he puts them. Turret placement is very important against Mutalisks, because the only thing you have to defend against Mutalisks at this stage, well, Byung at least, different builds, like when I play Mech, I'll still have to make turrets, but I will have a Thor out, and I will be able to go up to 4 Thors at about this time period. And I'll also have my 3rd base secured as well, because I don't play as aggressively as Byung, and I don't get double upgrades, I just get 1 upgrade, so that it maximizes my army, and it maximizes the or like how fast I can take my 3rd base, and how fast I take my 3rd base determines how fast I take my 4th base, and so on. Like, I usually start my 4th base around 12 minutes, 12:30 at the very latest, and I'll get that into that reason as soon as Byung starts his. But oh yeah, so upgrades. Upgrades and Mutalisks, how they play a factor is that Vikings, they don't benefit so much from the attack upgrades as they do the air or the armor upgrades, because that's what makes the Mutalisks so much less effective, because their glaives do significantly less damage. So really that +1 armor is -3 damage per Mutalisk shot, which is significant for the Mutalisks. So that's the Vikings benefit from the armor upgrades, but the Thors benefit from the attack upgrades. When the Thors hit +2 attack, that's when they start 2-shotting Mutalisks versus 3-shotting them. And that's very, very important. It can destroy a Mutalisk ball in a second, in like a single round of volleys from 2 Thors. And that ends up happening to Life. He kind of loses his Mutalisks haphazardly. So right now, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, to be honest. I'm sorry I'm scattering all around. There's just so much to go over. So right now, Life is taking his 4th base. I don't believe the double drop has occurred yet. But Life is taking his fourth base. He has droned up fully, which is good. It's all good. The only thing that I don't agree with him is not taking a fifth base so fast or fast enough. But in this case, it's fine. Like this that macro hatchery in the main base should be a fifth base, because like a fifth base right there, it's safe from the creep spread, and Mutalisks have map control right now. The Terran player during this stage of the game, the first usually 15 to 20 minutes in the game, is going to be turtling as hard as possible in order to establish a fourth base, and then slowly establish a fifth base, so that you can kind of sustain your continuous Raven production while you chip away at the Zerg player. So it should be the Zerg's job to mine as much as possible while denying the Terrans mining this base, and this base for as long as humanly possible. Because once again, we have to think about this in a split map scenario. So assuming that both players take 6 bases and 6 bases, what then happens? The map becomes mined out and the minerals become very important. And the sooner you have the minerals mined, the sooner you kind of like become more conscious that you have to be careful with your money. I can understand Life by, or no, I'll wait for that. I'll point it out later. Right now, Byung is doing a double medevac hellback drop, and then he's going to be doing a Hellion harass too. It's a triple pronged attack, and I really like it at this time. However, what I don't like is the timing of his fourth base. So we were at like 15 minutes. But let's go back to when the fourth base actually starts. Okay, we can see on the mini map. I want to go to exactly when it starts so I can be as accurate as possible. Essentially though, I disagree completely 100% at the timing of Byung's fourth base. Let's just assume for a second that this is going to be his fourth base, even though he makes it into an orbital. Well, he's going to put his second one down in a second. Okay, there we go. So he's taken his fourth base at 14 minutes and 30 seconds. It's not a bad timing, but it's not a good timing either, because in a defensive position like this, where are you really spending your minerals in? Are you trying to make an army to go attack? Are you trying to SCV up more, get full saturation, which he should have had at about 11 to 12 minutes? What is he really trying to do? But like, what kind of benefit does he gain by delaying his fourth base for so long? Now, I can understand if he doesn't have enough money to make a fourth base. So let's go back a little bit more and check when exactly he's. Oh my gosh, that's so much money. All right, so it's about 13 minutes. He doesn't appear to have that much money right now, so it's not. I can't really harp him on it so hard for it. But as we see the game go on, I hope they show the production tab soon to see how well he's spending his money. But he's really gas starved right now because of the double upgrades, and because of his he has 5 factories right now producing units. I don't think he can completely support all the double upgrades and that amount of factories all at once. So right now he has 800 minerals. It only takes, if you have 5 factories, you normally have 3 tech labs and 1 reactor. So if you made 3 Thors, that would be 900 minerals and 600 gas. But there's almost no reason why you would ever make 3 Thors in this stage of the game. Usually you make 2 Thors to deal with the Mutalisks, and then you switch into siege tanks so that you don't die from a fast roach attack. So the normal unit would be 3 siege tanks at a time, which are 120. Oh my god, it's either 150 and 125 or 125 125. I'm going to assume for a second that's 150 125, taking the worst case scenario into play. So let's say he's going to make 3 siege tanks and 4 hellbats in a row. That's 400 minerals. That's another 450 right there. So that's where his money's going to go. However, he only has enough gas to make 2 siege tanks. So, oh, and he also has a reactor on his starport too. So he's very, very... I don't think he added his 4th and 5th factory on just yet. I really doubt it. Yeah, there's the double reactor starport, and that takes up a lot of gas as well. So his money goes down back again, but then it spikes back up. And one thing we can notice here is that it reaches 800 minerals fairly quickly, and he's already at 1,000 minerals once again. It only took like 10 seconds to go back up to 1,000 minerals. This is because he has 4 mules mining minerals right now, and he has a full SCV saturation on 3 bases. So my argument is that his 4th base should have gone down significantly faster. In this game, I'll say the 13:30 to the 14-minute mark, it should have started. Then it would have finished by the 15:40 mark. But where does he start his 4th base? He starts it now at the 14:40 mark. So that's about a minute and a half slower than what he should have gotten. Like when he could have gotten it. He had the minerals. He was safe enough to do it. He didn't need to make any more turrets either. He had plenty of turrets against Mutalisks. So what would that have done, building a expansion a minute and a half earlier? Well, by the time he started his expansion right now, he would have already been able to start landing his 4th base. Or he would have been able to move out and start landing it and then start mining it from it. And he would have been mining from it by the time that he finished his 4th base right now. That's kind of just streamlining the process to get into a split map situation, which should be the end game goal for both of these players here. But as we can see, Byung, he's bottlenecked his minerals, but he's alleviated the bottleneck of his minerals by adding 4 command centers. It's a crap ton of minerals. Obviously, he's not starved for minerals. I could even make an argument for him starting a 4th command center before he even started floating money, simply because he has more minerals than he can actually spend. Okay, so now we're at the 3-pronged counterattack. I really like this. He has that, and now Hellions are going to the 3rd base as well, as we see on the minimap. And what this does, it decimates Life's mineral line. First of all, it wouldn't have done that much damage if Life was in position, but he was out of position. He was playing a bit greedily, positional-wise, by taking those rocks down so early on, when Byung was still on 3 bases. And now he's going to pay for it. He loses about 50 workers. No, he loses about 40 workers in this engagement, which is completely... Okay, closer to 50 workers. He loses 48 workers from the double Hellback drop and the Hellion run-by, which is huge. Life doesn't have enough of an economy to replenish that drone count, and he will definitely not have enough economy to saturate a 5th base in the next minute or 2. And this is one of the things that Byung does that's really great play by him, is this kind of move right here, killing 50 drones at this stage of the game. This is what allows him to take his 4th base at this late timing, because he's delayed Life's economy just as much, if not more, and so Life won't be putting pressure on him in the near future. If Life hadn't lost all of these units, if his units were in position to deal with it, he would have been able to take this base faster and this base faster, and he would have started mining from them just faster. You can't really hit a timing attack. The only real timing in this matchup, if you're playing a macro game versus Mech, is the timing of when you start to mine out of your bases. It's a different timing to think about, but it's the deadliest timing of all. When you run out of money, you run out of time. So yeah, Life lost a bunch of drones. That was a really great move by Byung, and it's allowing him, like, he's still not taking his 4th base, and it's already 17 minutes into the game. To kind of give an example of how late that is, Life's creep spread, if he was paying attention to it, it could have gotten up to this 4th base location before Byung even took his 4th base. That's how late that Byung's 4th base is. And you don't even... I've seen Flash doing a bio build getting his 4th base even faster than that. So it's just a really late 4th base in general even in this matchup. For bio, it's a bit more okay because you only need it for the minerals, and there's a lot more minerals than gas. But for Mech, you really need to get the fourth gas mining as soon as possible so that you can start Raven production. Because contrary to what Avillo does on ladder, you cannot sustain Raven production without significantly cutting siege tanks, Thors, Vikings, or upgrades, which you kind of don't want to do. We see Byung's not even mined out or maxed out right now. I really like getting these upgrades for the turrets. I hope he gets. I'm pretty sure he gets building armor too, but getting these upgrades for the turrets really shuts down Mutalisk harass. Getting +2 building armor means -2 damage per Mutalisk glaive shot, which is really good. And the high sec auto tracking gives it 8 range instead of 7, which allows him to kill a Mutalisk. So it kind of forces the Mutalisks to commit to killing a turret or to back out. And what Life is doing right now, and I completely disagree with, is trading Mutalisks for turrets. So he's like gonna kill this turret, but he ends up losing a Mutalisk for it, as we can see right. He doesn't even kill a turret, so he loses a Mutalisk for it. Now Mutalisks, Life has a lot of money. Not gonna sugarcoat that. But what he doesn't have a lot of is money that's already on the map. So each Mutalisk that dies is essentially a mule that... No, that's a bad example. So each Mutalisk that dies is essentially -100 minerals, -100 gas from your overall bank. And you shouldn't be thinking about how much money you have in your bank right now. You should be thinking how much money is on the map that you're playing on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's like 45 mineral patches on each side of the map, and there's 12 gas. So that would be 1,500, 18,000 gas available for him. So it's not 700. It's 700 out of 18, or it's 700 out of whatever amount has been mined. So the total amount that can be mined on Life's side of the map is 18,000 gas. And for minerals, I don't even want to do that calculation because it would slow this down even more. So what Life is doing, losing a Mutalisk for a turret here, he's essentially giving away more than Byung is losing. Even if he was to kill that turret, 100 minerals for 100 minerals and 100 gas, the 100 gas being the much more valuable resource on the map. It's not a good it's not good play on Life's part, and it kind of shows that like he must play versus Mech on ladder, and if he's doing this against players on ladder, he's just not aware of how to really play against Mech, because it can be scary to play against Mech in the late game. So that's why the game plan should be to split the map in your favor as fast as possible while denying the Terran bases, and also to try to mine from the Terran split side of the map so that it gives the Terran player a less overall minerals and gas on his side of the map. Like, once you can take as long as you want to mine the minerals, but once they're gone, you're not getting them back in this game. That's what becomes very important later on. I'll point out every single time that Life loses Mutalisks for minerals. This is an okay attack. I'll accept that just because he couldn't see up the ramp. He did lose some roaches though, and once again, losing a turret for 4 roaches, that's gas that he's never going to see again. Here, sniping off that siege tank is a good pickoff. Life, of course, having to run away from the Vikings, because Vikings, these are 2-2 Vikings right now, and the Mutalisks are just 2-0 right now, so the Vikings would destroy the Mutalisks. You don't need even numbers to win a Mutalisk versus Vikings. That's one of the reasons why Byung has a single Thor in his army. That's the only Thor he has in his entire army. Yeah, I checked later on in the game. They show unit tab, and that's the only single Thor. So he really only relies on mass turrets and Vikings to shut down the Mutalisk harass, and later on Ravens to kind of stop the Mutalisk from dealing damage. Nice pick off. That's another -100 minerals that Life got in return for nothing. Absolutely nothing. So Byung, he's on 4 bases right now, But as we can see here, life is on 5. He has creep spread out very, very far. It hasn't been denied this entire game. And he's in a good position. The next step that life has to do from here is to take this base and this base as soon as possible. To be honest, he should really be taking it right now. He has plenty of minerals. He has 4 fully saturated bases, so he's mining 2100 to 2200 minerals in a minute at any given point right now. So taking these 2 expansions really isn't a big cost to his overall bank at the current moment. And by mining gas out of it as fast as possible, like if he took this base, he not only has creep spread, he's not only denying it, but he can also take it. And if he takes that base, he will be getting even more gas, so that not only is he getting the gas, it prevents Byung from taking or from mining that gas on the map. That's why it's so important, because like 400 gas, 200 gas mined from each geyser, so like 400 gas mined from that base is 400 gas that Byung's not going to get, and it's 400 gas that life has to work with. So it's kind of like 800 gas effective, but 400 gas for each player. Life gets plus 400, Byung gets minus 400. And the swarm host here, yeah, it's kind of a dangerous position because he's starting to get ravens out. Well, Byung's tech switch is extremely slow as well. Those are his 4 tech labs for his starports, and it's 22 minutes into the game. He hasn't made a single... Okay, he's made 1 raven. He hasn't started constant raven production yet, and I lied about the 1 Thor as well. LOL. But the result of having such a slow production is not having a solid timing to start your starports and start raven production. And also the fact that his 4th base hasn't started to kick in until now. That's part of the reason why he's starting to develop a bank, because he is on 4 bases and he's starting to mine from 4 gas geysers. Of course, this would all be gone in an instant by making 4 ravens, 800 gas worth. So now, as we approach, I'm going to say this is the mid game, and then the late... So I think the early game is establishing economy, getting your 4 and 5 base economy running. Your mid game is transitioning into air, and your late game is kind of just the split map situation that I was talking about this entire video. So approaching the mid game, life, he has a swarm host mutalisk viper composition. He's starting to make a spine spore wall. It's all good, all good. What we haven't seen him do, though, is take this base and take this base. Not good. But his unit composition is good right now. He's not going to trade as effectively, but he's also not going to trade costs inefficiently either, because he now has those free units that can chip away and slowly steal the overall minerals that Byung has access to on the map, and he has mutalisks, which are very cost effective as well. However, as we see in this game, the counter that Byung has figured out to mass mutalisks is mass turrets and turret upgrades as well. I swear to God, he better have the building upgrade. I didn't see it researching, but I saw the high sec auto tracking, so I'm just going to assume he has the building upgrade. The building upgrade's more important than the high sec auto tracking even, because it helps planetary fortresses stay alive against locusts too. So I guess the real counter to mutalisks is having Vikings and turrets, because it forces life to... Oh, and so it forces life to spend his gas and minerals to kill turrets, which is just minerals. So it's a lot more efficient to lose a mutalisk for a turret for Byung than it is for life to lose a mutalisk for a turret. So I really like this here. Byung's army is out of position. All of his Vikings are over here, and as a result, the Vipers have free reign of this entire army, and it's Blinding Cloud, not Abduct. You want a Blinding Cloud because Blinding Cloud stops the turrets, and it stops the Thors as well from long range attacking the mutalisks, and the mutalisks have very short range in the first place. So this is a fantastic trade by life. He gets 1 Thor, 1 siege tank, 2 Thors, 2 siege tanks, 3 siege tanks, 4 siege tanks? No, the Vikings get here. But part of the reason for that is because Byung didn't have enough missile turrets. That's what happens when a Mutalisk Viper Ball comes in and you don't have enough missile turrets. You really have to get a bunch of missile turrets. Instead, Byung's chosen to make like 4 more orbital command centers. Once again, I don't like that decision because he's trying to mine out. He's trying to mine as fast as possible, but what you should be focused on is using your minerals as efficiently as possible. So there's no real reason to need 4 extra orbitals worth of mules. You're only going to mine out your base faster. Plus, each orbital is 550 minerals. So that's like 500. That's like 5 turrets that are not going to be made for the rest of the game. Like, yeah, you get mules. Yeah, you can mine out your side of the map faster. But what really happens after the map has been mined out and you have like 5 orbitals just sitting there gaining energy? You're not going to be able to use them for anything. And that's when you're going to start to wish that those 5 orbitals were 2,500 minerals that you could do stuff with. So that's just inefficient use of his minerals right now, mostly because I don't think he just really knows what to do with his minerals, and I don't think either player are playing with the mindset that the map is going to be in a split position. As we can see here, it's been like 4 to 5 minutes and Life still hasn't taken either base, even though he could have done so. If he took it at 20 minutes, it would have started mining 2 minutes ago. So he could have had 100, 200, 300, 400 extra gas by now. Like, who knows even how many minerals, but he doesn't really have enough drones. So it's building up the gas bank that's really important. And that's a lot of minerals or that's a lot of gas every minute that 2 extra bases full of gas provides for you. Oh yeah, and also, Life's creep spread is really great too. The role of creep spread in Mech is not to it's like you're not gonna have any parade pushes to fear or anything like that. That was awful, awful. Not a good trade for Life, but having creep spread prevents you from landing buildings. Having creep spread prevents you from taking bases, and also the amount of time it takes. It's kind of like an overlord spreading creep at your 3rd base in a regular game, except this is creep tumors instead. That's a good trade by Life. And if Life really, like, if he wanted to, he could have easily sent an overlord here or used the Mutalisks for vision and to start creeping over here. And once creep gets to like the 4th base over here, it starts to become denied by Life. That's really what he should be doing in this game, because if he denies this base, we can see Byung, he's starting to get gas starved. His main bases is gonna start mining out soon. His natural soon after. So his mining gas, like his available gas to him, is starting to run out, and by denying it, it prevents him from accessing like 2,000 some gas in a base. Assuming that's been mined out, or even 3,000 if it hasn't been mined out. So it's 3,000 potential gas that he could have add to his overall bank. So really, if Life can deny this base for the entire game, not likely, but this is just a what if scenario, Byung's total gas available would only become 15,000, whereas Life's would be 18,000. And if Life had this base too, then that makes Byung's total gas available 12,000, and it makes Life's total available gas 21,000. So by denying this base and by taking this base gas in a split map scenario, all of a sudden we see a huge leap ahead in the 21,000 gas available for Life and the only 12,000 gas available for Byung. And that would mean Byung would essentially have to get insane trades that Life just simply shouldn't give away ever if he's on top of his game. Like, he'd have to bundle up like 20 to 30 Mutalisks and lose them all to 3 to 4 Hunter Seeker missiles at least twice in a game for it to be an even game, like to deplete that kind of gas available. Once again, he's not spreading his... Well, so he is spreading his creep. He's just not doing it as aggressively as he should be. But if he was to get the creep tumors over there in time... Okay, so now he's gotten it there. So it's starting to, like... become, if he was able to get there before the planetary fortress started, he would have been in an awesome shape. Because Byung, he has no resources right now to replenish his entire army. He has a strong maxed out army, but he doesn't have any bank. Whereas Life, he has a plentiful bank, and now he's finally started to take these two bases. But it's only 7 minutes late, Life. That's only like 1,400 gas that you could have had if they were mining by now. Pretty good stuff if he decided to take it, and he has plenty of minerals too. I'm not even gonna explain that. So he is starting to take these two bases. I just don't like how slowly he's taking them. Uh, okay, but when all is said and done, Byung has finally established this fifth base once again, and now he's on a 5 base economy, so he's going to have a total of 15,000 gas available to him against Life's 18,000, and that's a much more easy to trade gas for gas efficiently with Ravens than 21,000 and 12,000. Right here, I understand what Life is doing, but I completely disagree with it. What he's doing is he blinding clouds, he picks off the sensor turret or sensor tower. Not bad. It's 150 gas, but he's going to lose some mutalisks as a result of it. Not only mutalisks, but he might lose a Viper too. Yeah, he lost a Viper to the turrets, but he would have lost the Viper even before the Vikings got there. So losing a Viper and a Mutalisk for a sensor turret, that's 300 gas, and I don't know, like 250 or 200 minerals for only 250 minerals and 150 gas. It's not a very efficient gas trade on Life's part, and it doesn't seem like the biggest of a deal here once again with his bank, but we do have to think about a split map scenario. 18,000 gas available for Life. That's 300 gas that he's never gonna see again. That's just it makes it easier for Byung to trade gas for gas when the map has been split and all areas have been mined out. It's cute by Life, but doesn't really do much. I think he also ends up losing the swarm or the locust too, and so that's or the swarm host. So that's 2 swarm hosts for like an SCV and some damage to a refinery. Life is he's ahead in this game, but he's not spending his money well, and these kinds of things add up. It's the difference between having 1,000 to 200 extra gas in your bank at this point, if he hadn't lost any stupid trades, and having what he has now, which is a still good amount. Here, this is where I absolutely hate what Life is doing right now. What he's doing is trading turrets for freaking Mutalisks and Vipers, and I think I've said it enough times in this video that you don't want to be trading minerals for gas. So let's see exactly how much he loses. And for what? For 3 turrets, for 4 turrets, for 5 turrets, he loses like an equal amount of Mutalisks. Okay, for like 7 turrets, he loses easily 500 gas worth of stuff just for turrets. It's just not a cost-effective trade. And there we go. Life making 10 Mutalisks because that's how many he lost. He's probably going to lose even more. Yep, he loses 3, 4, 5. He loses 5 more Mutalisks. So what's he going to do? What is he going to do? He's going to make 5 more Mutalisks, I think. But basically, that's like 10 Mutalisks that he lost, that he remade for just to kill turrets, just to kill minerals. It's not a good trade at all. There's no justification for it besides the fact that Life is a very good player, and we have to give him some leeway because I don't know. It's just not a good move by Life. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And like once again, those turrets are rebuilt, and it's so much better to rebuild 10 turrets than it is to lose 10 Mutalisks. And we see Life's bank being depleted again. He's going to go for it again. Oh, he loses a Viper. He doesn't lose a Mutus, but he loses a Viper for free to the turrets. Turrets really do well against Vipers because they have such a high DPS and Vipers are so fragile. But again, that's like another minus 200 gas from Life's total bank. So even like if this was a split map situation and Byung had either denied or taken this base that Life has over here, then Life would not be able to win this game. based off of both players having 18,000 total available gas to them on the map. So, like, Life is just putting himself farther and farther behind. It may not look like it because of the bank, but the bank is really deceiving because you have to think about it in terms of overall minerals and gas that can be mined. And once again, like, this is the third freaking time he's traded some turrets for Mutalisks. And I really like what he was doing with the Infestors, trying to catch the Viking and Raven fleet with a fungal. But no, it's just not worth it. Byung's trading his SCVs right now because he has so many mules and orbitals. He just doesn't need that many SCVs. So Life, this is starting to approach the late game where both players have essentially split the map, and it's going to go towards the end game of when the bases get mined out and when every mineral counts. So every single little mineral wasted throughout this entire game or not used effectively is going to bite him in the butt like a bee sting times 100,000. Not 100,000, more like times 1,000. So right now, I really like what Byung is doing. Life kinda had the swarm hosts out of position. So like right now, the swarm hosts are all on this side of the map over here. They're applying pressure to this area. And what that means is that the swarm hosts are no longer over here guarding this area. And what they also aren't guarding or keeping in position is the siege tank army that Byung has over here. So as a result of having his newfound freedom, his mech army is going to march across over here. Because the locusts are completely out of position and essentially deny this base. So what that does for Life is, like, it leaves him with the option of continuing to attack into this area that he's not going to break, or to rush back and try to pin this army, which is not going to get pinned very easily because there's an entrance to the natural base. So either way, it's not... Okay, so what Life tries to do is he tries to go for a base trade because he knows he can't contest with this giant air army. Not the best planetary... Oh, okay, good. He does get a building armor. Building armor really helps against locust attacks as well. So now, this little entrance here, the swarm hosts are completely out of position. And so what Life thought was going to be an okay trade, trading this base for this base, is now going to turn into his swarm hosts being even farther out of position and losing this base and that base and all of the tech structures that come with it. That's an infestation pit. That's 100 gas he's going to lose. He's going to lose his spire. That's another 100 gas. He's going to lose his hive. That's another 200 gas that he's going to lose. So he loses at least 400 gas worth of building infrastructure right here. So he's not taking... Like, he still has a good bank, but that's just because he's mined out more of the map faster. Byung still has a lot more minerals and gas on his side of the map that can be mined out. So now Life is in kind of a pickle. Because the swarm hosts were caught out of position, he loses 3 bases for the price of 1. And this is part of why I like this map so much. Because you can, like, go so easily to the natural and to the main. And always kind of, like, force a good base trade scenario type. And we see Life here. He's trying to base trade with his Mutalisks. And, like, once again, he's using his Mutalisks to counterattack. I like. But he's trading Mutalisks for turrets. For freaking turrets right now. And there's still like a wall of turrets in the main that Byung can retreat towards, which he ends up doing. And the Mutalisk can't fly anywhere near that. Like, he's going to get some buildings here. Like, yeah, that's great. You still lose a Mutalisk or 2 to the turrets. Not so great. And then you're also, like, going to kill, like, the starport, a couple starports. But it's not as bad as him losing his entire tech tree. Like, that's far, far worse. So Life is just making the best out of a bad situation, but really there is no win for him in this situation. And now we see this is kind of like a forced split map situation where both players are mined out and it's starting to approach the late game stage of this match, or of this style of matchup. I usually like to say TvZ is a completely different matchup than TvZ Bio. We can see Vikings tearing apart Mutalisks because Vikings at 3-3 destroy Mutalisks at 3-3, I don't think those Mutalisks are even 3/3 yet. But we see Life, like he's now, what Byung is doing is he's denying Life's total amount of minerals available to be mined for him. Life can no longer mine out of this base. He's lost a couple thousand more gas. He's also lost like however many minerals are there, so that's probably at least 4,000 worth of minerals there that he's not going to be able to touch. Also, the gas in his natural base, I think it should be mined out by now, but the mineral patches, it's probably another 1,000 minerals that's not going to be able to be mined anytime soon. And also this base is starting to run out, so all Life has essentially is his bank, and losing so much stuff earlier on, like losing all of those Vipers to the turrets, losing all of those Mutalisks to the turrets, that's money that he could have had now that he no longer has, and that he's no longer going to get ever. At least he still has a chance to mine from here. Like if he can get a base up and running, he'll be able to mine it, but when the units die, they're dead and you can't get that back. There's no return policy on that. Oh, and I really like what Life is doing here. He makes multiple hatcheries so that he doesn't have to have queens at each base. He didn't have a queen at his natural or his main base either, and that way he kind of has enough larvae without having to worry about injects a lot, and also have a bigger maxed out army as well, because you don't want like 4 queens sitting around doing contributing absolutely nothing to your army. Maybe like 1 or 2 to spread creep, but queens just kind of take up a lot of space. So that's what I like that about him. He's kind of streamlining his macro by doing that with the hatcheries. But right now, Life is in an awful spot. He's making 14 Ultralisks. These Ultralisks are complete desperation. You never want to make Ultralisks in this matchup. Maybe for a timing push. It's very situational. And in this situation, Life is making it because it's his only tech structure left, and he has absolutely nothing else. Oh, and speaking of which, mules are awesome. One of the good things about, or like this is kind of an example of denying minerals versus not having them at all. So when Life denied this base, Byung no longer had access to the gas and to the mineral count. So that was like 3,000 minerals for him, but as soon as he starts mining from it, he's going to have like +2, +3,000 more minerals available to him. But if he had lost all of those, like if he had lost like 60 Hellions or something like that for free, those would be minerals that he essentially would never be able to get back again. So that's the difference between having minerals denied and never getting minerals back in the game. And as we see here, once again, like Life, his bank is kind of out of money. He's basically dead now. He has some money, but in Mech, you have to look at the big picture. It's not enough to create another gigantic army. He probably has enough to make a round of Mutas, a round of Ultras, a round of Swarm Hosts, or a round of Infestors, which Byung is basically going to be able to counter with his army. So I think Life is going to try to go for a base trade right now, or he's just going to try to kill the army. I don't really know, but at this point, there can be no good situation for him because he's never going to trade against all of... Like, Byung has complete air superiority, so even if he does lose all of this stuff, which he doesn't, but even if he did, let's just play devil's advocate, he loses all of that, and all he has is Vikings and Ravings left, he can just make Banshees and he'll be fine. The Banshees will never die, lol. Yeah, that's what he's doing right now. And as we can see, Life's bank completely depleted, I think, because he made another round of Ultralisks. I think at this point, he's just trying to, like, I don't know, he just has faith in the Ultralisks that they're going to be doing good, but he knows he's lost. He's in a checkmate situation right now. He's not mining from any bases, or at least not mining a lot. He's mining a very, very insignificant amount. Oh, he actually has that base too. But he uses his money on another round of Ultralisks. And this is kind of just an example of how bad Ultralisks are against Mech. They just trade extremely poorly against both siege tanks and Thors in number. And then they can't even touch air units. Like they're like Tyrannosaurus Rexes. They have really short arms that can't reach up, even though they're really, really big units. So Life here, kind of on his last legs. well, I guess I'll just go over it one more time, just stressing the importance of a split map situation. Right here we see Byung, like he's like this is the point of the game where a split map situation would occur if both players had not made any significant mistakes and gave up significant portions of their army or were out of position. They both would have had about 6 bases, and they would have stopped mining right now. Like they're mining off of like 1 or 2 bases max. So really, what the money they have now is the money that they're gonna have for the rest of the game. So like if this game goes on for another half an hour, that's all the money they're gonna have. So you really have to use it wisely, and cost efficiency is the name of the game from here on out. Locust, good at cost efficiency. Vipers, not so great. They can be easily countered. Infestors, good at cost efficiency, especially if you can get like a money fungal or something. That's essentially the equivalent of getting a money, what's it called? A Hunter Seeker missile off as well. So, yeah, Byung has kind of an unstoppable army. Life is just trying to go for a base trade. Normally I would just exit out of the game, but Byung has a really, really crappy fungal growth happen to him, and I just want to kind of analyze exactly how much that costs him in terms of current army and overall gas supply that he's never going to see again. So 18,000, it's 3,000, it's 1,500 got, yeah, 1,500 per geyser, 2 geysers per base, 6 bases on that side of the map, so 6 times 2 equals 12 times, no, 6 times 3,000. That's how we got the number 18,000. Oh my gosh, like, Ultralisks just, this is not cost, okay, this is kind of cost efficient for life because he didn't have a high enough siege tank count number. Mostly because he's starting to switch into Banshees, which insta-counter Ultralisks, and he also has a significant Sky army as well. As you can see, neither player is mining, but the player with the bigger bank at the end of the game wins. Oh, how life wishes he had all of that money he didn't waste killing turrets from Mutalisks with him right now to continue the game going on. Oh, right here, right here. Oh my gosh. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I believe about 13 ravens getting caught in a single fungal. 13 times 200, 2,600 gas. That's essentially 1 base worth of gas that goes down the drain if life hits every fungal, which he doesn't, which kind of sucks. But either way, life just has no money left. Oh my gosh, and they all escape too. And oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What the, oh my gosh. Yeah, life is dead. And these Ultralisks, they can't kill Banshees. They're just not the best unit choice. And now life is going to have to be forced to tap out because he no longer has a bank. And he no longer has an economy. So, definitely a lot longer of a game, but there was a lot of information to go over. So, to kind of summarize the current state of mech play on the Korea server and in Pro League, or just in the Korean region in general right now, is that it looks like players have figured out what kind of unit compositions to get against mech, and the mech player has figured out what kind of unit compositions to build to stay alive against the Zerg player, but neither has really understands the split map situation and thinking about the matchup, the fourth matchup of Terrans in kind of like a total minerals available rather than how big your bank currently is, because like I demonstrated, or not really demonstrated, like Byung demonstrated, you can have a small bank but still have access to a lot of minerals, or like life, you can have a big bank but have access to no minerals. So it really comes down to the overall minerals and how you spend them. And like life just didn't do a good job. He had a couple good pickoffs, especially the blinding clouds in front of the fourth base of Byung, but overall trading turrets for Mutalisks, big no-no. Especially since he wasn't on even. I guess even bases would be 5 bases for the Terran versus 6 bases for the Zerg. And then taking the 6th base is usually the Terran's late game goal, so that you can get the split map situation. And since Mech trades more cost efficiently than Bio, that pretty much guarantees a victory for Terran. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, found it very informative. Don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, peace out.